I'm here with Stewart. It's a great pleasure, and
My pleasure too.
I'm really grateful for having this opportunity to be with you. Today we're going to talk about Huna philosophy. Stewart, could you introduce yourself so people can meet you?
My name is Stewart Blackburn, and I am an alekai of Huna International. That is to say, I'm a senior teacher of Huna, and I've been a part of this community for the last 20-25 years. And I first heard about Huna, something like 35 years ago. Somebody that I met had met Serge King, and she wrote a book on Huna that I read and became fascinated. And while I studied a lot of other forms of metaphysics and spiritual philosophy, I gravitated to this one. And this one I like because it is so powerful. That's the reason that I like it better than any of the others. It's powerful because it works.
Right.
That's the whole point. If it didn't work so well, then it wouldn't be worth anything. So I got into it so that I could not only be more powerful, that is to say, effective in what I do, that is helping people, but also because it supported my own personal growth.
What Huna philosophy is? How would you define it?
Well, it's a philosophy or a system, a spiritual system, that doesn't prevent us from keeping the rain out.
You're right. So now we are covered, right?
Yes.
You were saying that Huna philosophy is a system, a spiritual system,
Right.
but doesn't mean that it's a religious, does it?
No, not at all. One of the wonderful things about Huna is that there are no dogma. There is no dogma.
Oh, right.
So there are no sets of beliefs. We have principles. You're welcome to believe them or not. But the principles are organized as a formula for personal power. That's their beauty, is that they are set up and organized in such a fashion that if you understand each of the principles, and they work together, you understand how you can become more personally powerful in your life. A lot of that has to do with taking responsibility for your life and recognizing that nothing happens to you, but that you create the reality that you're living in.
It brings you the power to change, right? So,
And it includes the power to change. So we moved out of the rain and now under this gazebo. So we took our power to change our situation for what we hope is the better.
right. Here enters the Pono principle, I would say. Effectiveness is the measure of power.
Measure of truth. Let me go through these principles very quickly, if I might. So the world is what you think it is the first one. That is to say, you're creating your own reality. That you do that with your thoughts and your feelings, your energy, your vibration. That's what's creating the experiences that you have. So you have to take responsibility for your own vibration, recognizing that that's the main factor going into what you experience. The second one is Kala, there are no limits. So we're talking about in the spiritual realm, there are no limits. We have limits here in the physical world that we play around. It's like playing a game of chess. We have certain rules that we play by, and we can do whatever we want within those rules. So we have the power to play around and use our imagination to go wherever we want. And the third one is about focus, which is the most important muscle that you have. And it is your ability to not only concentrate, but what you're looking at. The camera here and our audience have a particular focus, a particular way of looking at it. So it's not only that you and I are clear, but this is a particular angle that we're looking at. You change that angle and you change your perception of the world. Right. So it's important to understand how you are focusing on the aspects of your life.
So what you're focusing it in gets bigger.
It gets you energize. And so it pays to pay attention to what you're paying attention to.
Makes sense. Maquia. This is the Maquia.
This is the Maquia principle. The fourth one is now is the moment of power. So here we go on power. It's all about power, but specifically, power can only be exerted, can only be used in the present moment. You're not going to change the past. You're not going to change the future. You're going to change how you think about them. You're going to change how you feel about them. And that's important, but you do that in the present moment. Everything that's powerful happens right now.
Perfect.
Fifth one is about love. To love is to be happy with.
Aloha.
Anything or anybody. So it's a matter of understanding that your love is what's guiding everything. And if you love things into being, fine. That's how you manifest things. So it's to be happy with. And I think we should talk about happiness in a moment.
Perfect.
But the sixth principle, mana, all power comes from within. That is to say, you have the power. You have the power within you to do what you want. It doesn't come from anywhere else. You have to acknowledge it, accept it, and then use it. And most people, I find, are afraid of their power, afraid of what will happen if they use their power, what will happen if other people don't like them using their power. There's a lot of ideas and unfortunate stigma to using your power. But once you get over that, then you can use your power, and it all comes from within you. And then the last one that you mentioned, Pono, is effectiveness is the measure of truth. So, which is the essence of wisdom. Wisdom, of course, is what works. And so we want to make sure that we understand that things work. We don't just take on ideas or believe somebody. We want to look and see if that really works. If it doesn't work, then you don't pay attention. Yeah, change it.
So what happiness is in Huna point of view?
Well, I'm not sure there is an official
definition
of happiness. I have one personally. I think within Huna, the point is to be happy, and so that is what guides effectiveness, is what we're doing making us happy. I call happiness gracefully going from one pleasure to the next. Pleasure and everything changes, always changes going on. And so each pleasure comes to an end. And when we get unhappy about a pleasure coming to an end, then we are torturing ourselves unnecessarily. All pleasures come to an end. So happiness is going from one pleasure, when it ends, gracefully moving on to another pleasure, and on to another. So we have pleasures all around us. Now, we're obviously in a very pleasurable garden. But everywhere you are, there are things to appreciate. Everywhere. And so you pay attention to the things that bring you happiness, and that is what makes you happy. Happiness is a choice to focus on the things that make you feel good.
So every pleasure moment comes to an end, just as sadness as well will come to an end, right?
Yes.
And that's a matter of choice. If you are just expecting for the next moment of happiness or the next moment of pain, it's an expectation.
That's right. That's
so
right.
you wrote a book about the skills of pleasure, right?
Yes.
If you allow, I would like to share with who may interest, if they feel like, to know more about you, to get in touch with this way of living.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself a happy person?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I had to do this question.
Yeah, right.
I already knew.
Sure, right. But yes, because I have chosen. And I wrote the book, The Skills of Pleasure, because I didn't feel that people understood how pleasure works. And so many people think that certain things are pleasurable. And so they want more of those certain things. Well, pleasure isn't a thing. Pleasure is a response to experience. So if you have an experience and you like it, that's your response, then it makes you feel good. If you have an experience and you didn't like it, that's your response, then it makes you feel bad. It's very simple. And it is also how spirit works. That is to say, spirit will guide you with things that make you feel good. Now, there are some things that make you feel good in one way, but not ultimately. That is to say, there are things where you will do something and it feels good on the surface, but in the long term, it makes you feel bad. So getting drunk is one of those things. Being drunk can be a lot of fun. The hangover the next day is not. Mm-hmm. So you pay a certain price. All right, so wisdom would suggest that you find a way to have that inebriated or ecstatic feeling without drinking so that you don't have the hangover, which you can do. I mean, you can access that anytime you want.
Is there any part of us that can lead us to what makes us happy, what makes us feel?
Well, yes and no. I mean, because it's a choice, it's a matter of choosing each moment to feel good, to find things that at least feel as good as possible. There are going to be things that happen that we don't like. And we have to deal with them, and we have to allow our feelings to come up and feel them entirely. But we don't have to hang on to them. The point is to be aware all of the time of how we are feeling and doing the things that will make us feel better.
So with this, we get closer to our inner senses, mm-hmm. rather than only our five
Well, we get closer
ones.
to our inner self by understanding. Well, let me back up a step. Huna talks about the three selves. Your body, mind, we call it ku, which is pretty close to how people describe subconscious.
Right.
Then we talk about the conscious mind, which I think is pretty much standard.
Intellect, yeah.
Then we talk about the higher mind, or the inner self, or soul. We talk about this higher being as being part of us, that it's all connected, and that we can't lose our soul because we are soul. And how they all work together. Huna also talks about the joining of all three of them, that is to say, a functional or integration of all three of them simultaneously. And that's a useful consciousness to get into.
Could we call it unity, like when we are one?
You can, but okay, we also talk about different ways of levels of consciousness. Not that there's any hierarchy, but just that there are different ways of looking at reality. So, for instance, we're sitting here in front of this lovely audience, and this is a physical reality, an objective reality, if you will. The scientists will tell us that it's not exactly real, but it's real enough. But we also have a subjective reality. You have your way of viewing what's going on. You have your version of me. And you have a whole lot of things that are going on emotionally for you that are all personal. In fact, most of your experience is subjective. Mm-hmm. So you can look at the world and connect to my subjectivity. I mean, that's how telepathy works. And you can feel into other parts of the world, other people, other plants, other animals. So you have a subjective reality that you live in. There's also what we call a shamanic reality, which is that everything is a symbol for some aspect of who you are. And so you are projecting out to the world some aspect of you that you want to learn more about.
It's a reflection.
Right. Okay. So you have your version of me, and in this sense, you've created me. Thank you. So there's a fourth one, and that is the unity consciousness. We're all one. Everything is one. Which is cool, and it certainly is the object of a number of religions, to get into that state where you're just aware of the oneness of everything. But if you're there, the problem that in Huna we have with that is that there's nobody to party with. You know, if
you're everything.
If you're everything, Who are you going to party with? It's all you. You know, there are advantages to not being one, to exploring different sides of things. We use the oneness in healing a lot and say, okay, I will take that problem on and I will heal it within me. And that should influence the other person. But we don't take away their ability to heal themselves. Everybody's healing really comes from themselves because the problem comes from themselves.
We don't heal them, so...
They heal themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's the 7 principles and the 4 levels of consciousness and the 3 selves, all in one.
It's incredible. There's so much to learn and to discover. Just as you that is watching us, we are a projection of their own reality, right?
Right.
So we keep discovering more and more, and I think that's endless.
So far as I can tell, but I don't know.
Right. We could talk much more about it, but I feel that there's a lot to process for now. We have a bunch of stuff to meditate on. If you feel like, we could make some more videos about using your book on skills of pleasure, so we can get to know more about how to identify pleasure, because I feel that sometimes people, they see in a situation and they get so involved with it and they put their identity on it that they cannot see, like it's like they are suppressing everything that they have to be grateful for or to enjoy or to appreciate. So
I would suggest to you, a primary problem is that most people think about pleasure, but pleasure is not a thought. Pleasure is a feeling. So the more you understand your own feelings, the more you pay attention to what you like and what you don't like, the more you will understand pleasure. But contemplating pleasure isn't what it takes. Feeling pleasure and getting to get comfortable with the intensity of pleasure is how you get more pleasure in your life.
That opens up a lot too. So this comes from self-observation.
Sure. Well, self-observation and enjoying yourself.
Enjoying yourself.
Partying. I mean, that's what partying is about. Enjoying yourself with company. Fine. So in many ways, this is about partying consciously.
I enjoy this moment.
Good.
I'm enjoying it.
Good.
And I can feel it and not only think about it.
Right. Most people, though, have trouble feeling or having accept all of their feelings.
But I'm doing your course, like I'm studying with you, so that's why I can feel a little bit more than most people. But this course is really opening the perspective to my inner senses and my inner feelings, my inner self, getting this contact with it. And it's much more easier to feel whenever I'm angry or when I'm concerned, when I'm happy, I'm feeling joy. It's so much clearer. And with the exercises we do inside the course, and the little homework that is really great, it's opening and destroying all barriers. And I'm really grateful for having this opportunity.
I'm very glad.
And yeah, life comes and brings us, that's my point of view, that life, it's unfolding itself through me.
Yes.
So I'm accessing some different contents, different people, and it's getting better and better and better, and I'm getting to know more and more about myself.
Right.
And I think that we all are living for ourselves, like we're experiencing.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's it, but I feel that when I get more in contact with my inner self, more I can give to the world in way of acts and recordings and contents, and the things I do, I can do better for the world. So it's not something egoistic to do, but I feel that is something that love just, I'm so full of it that it just blah, and that's something natural. It's not something I'm pushing to do it. It comes naturally, and I think that everything that what you are doing, as I can observe, maybe it's my perspective, but is that what you are living? You feel it so much that you develop these courses that are really life-changing, and because of this need of sharing, because
Absolutely, sure, of course. Yeah.
that's what Aloha principle is about,
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Yeah.
So, I appreciate this talk.
Happy to.
Really
yes.
enjoyed it, and I'm taking into my heart.
Okay.
And I hope we will have much to live together.
Okay, very
I
good.
just have this feeling.
Very good. I look forward to it.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
If you would like more, just leave the like button and comment. If you have any questions or you have something to add to this conversation, we would be happy to hear from you. And yeah, that's it. I'll leave Stewart's page, website on the description if you would like to know more about it. It's something that really might change your life if you are keen to do so. Thank you for being here, and we see each other. Ahui ho.
Ahui ho and aloha.
Aloha.